Beekeepers, my beekeeping method will help cut your losses. But let me first explain to you. I've had honeybees for 8 years. I tried Kirk Webster's no treatment method for the first 3-4 years, and then I started losing colonies. So I tried some Russian queens from Foley's Russian Bees. Of 46 queens, half of them died during and after shipping because he'll pack the box full of loose workers, and the queens get hot because there's only 2 screens on the box. During the summer, they get hot, and that damages their health. You stick the queen in the hive that she's in the cage. You stick her in the hive, and you don't realize it. She dies a few days later, and that colony will make queen cells from any eggs left in the hive after you remove the previous queen. So it was basically a waste of money because I couldn't get my money back on those queens that died after I received them the next day. It's like, say for instance, in here, there was 24 or so. In the second shipment I got, 6 of them never made it out of the cage. This is the next day air UPS. And I never got a refund, so I don't recommend buying queens anymore from anybody, and Russian bees are a waste of money to begin with. So breed your own queens. If you have commercial bees in your area, that's great. You get new honeybees in your area every summer. You can get new genetic lines. If you don't have any honeybees in your area, then yeah, you have to probably buy queens because your bees are going to get inbred. And then as far as, Russian bees are not mite resistant from what I tried here. So I tried this Formic Pro, formic acid 2 years in a row, 2018 going into winter. It seemed to work with about 25 colonies. And then the following year, I thought, okay, I'm going to use Formic Pro again. I had almost 75 colonies, so I spent $400 on 3 of these. And I assumed because it worked the previous year that it was going to work again. And I found out a month after I used it, it didn't work. So I realized that, and then I quickly switched to acetic acid November 2019. And that killed all the Varroa mites in my hives, but my bees had already gotten varrosis from the Varroa mites that were in there during the fall. And I used 2 of these Varrox vaporizers. When you have a lot of colonies, you need to have 2. That way you can keep one hot all the time. If I have an apiary, it has 30 colonies. I can go there one evening after they've gone back into the hive, and I can do 30 colonies under 2 hours. And then the next day or a day after, I can go do another one. You have to have 2 to keep one hot all the time. And I just fill up the cup here with acetic acid. I don't measure. I just fill it up. I put it in there for 3 minutes. Make sure it all burns off, or whatever you want to call it, oxidizes. And this right here, acetic acid, is very cheap. Once you spend the money on these, $160 each, you can buy this acetic acid for like $30 a bag up from Walmart.com or off of eBay. Really, really cheap. It's a whole lot cheaper than this. This right here has resulted, every time I use it, I've lost 10% of my queens. I have never, ever lost a queen using acetic acid. So I'm going to continue to use this the rest of my life. It may be more work. You have to do it. I'm going to do it throughout the summer to knock down the Varroa mites. The Varroa mites that I get come from the commercial bees that are brought back into my area mid-June. They go out to the almonds where all those bees are. 80% of the bees in North America are in the almonds. They pick up Varroa mites, and then they go all over the United States back to different locations, and they spread those Varroa mites to us beekeepers in that area. And our bees get the Varroa mites during the summer. So during the summer, late summer, early fall, the Varroa mites are building up in the colony. So I suggest throughout the summer, go ahead and do acetic acid treatments, knock down the Varroa mites, so that way during the fall you don't have such a hard time trying to get rid of them. Because this right here only kills the Varroa mites that are not in the cap brood. When they're in the cap brood, acetic acid does not kill them. You have to do acetic acid treatment several times, every 2 weeks or so, to get rid of the Varroa mites that come out of the cap brood. So again, don't buy queens. Breed your own queens, especially if you have commercial beekeepers in your area. You get new genetic lines every summer. Make your own hive bodies. And then I just want to say this real quick. If you have hive beetles, I have chickens and ducks. I've had chickens for a long time, but I just now got into ducks. I don't have trouble with hive beetles here at home where I have my chickens and ducks. I have trouble with getting hive beetles whenever I put bees out to different apiaries. And then these ducklings right here, their mother is a blue Swedish duck, and she lays an egg like this every day. You see how much bigger this is compared to a chicken egg? A chicken will lay an egg every 2 out of 3 days, but a duck, at least a duck that I have, she lays an egg every day. So you're feeding them, you're feeding about the same amount of food. A duck will lay a larger egg than a chicken, and a duck will lay an egg every day. So you're getting more for your money that you're putting into them. So I decided these right here are the babies off this blue Swedish duck that I have. I have a pair. And some of these are from, I have several males from other breeds. So some of them are bastards. And I'm going to get rid of those male ducks so I won't have any more bastards. But try ducks versus chickens. And they will get the hive beetles in the ground. They go through the ground and with their beak and they get the hive beetles out. Chickens do the same thing, scratching. But the ducks will get hive beetles too, and they lay more eggs. So let me go out to the shed here and I'll show you about hives and frames. There's my pair of blue Swedish ducks. The male's the one that's got his head way up in the air, and the female's got her head tucked down. She lays an egg every day, and I like eggs for breakfast, so it's a big advantage for me to have ducks that lay large eggs every day versus a chicken that only lays an egg every 2 out of 3 days. Now let me take you in the shed and I'll show you. If you're going to have honeybees, you really can't buy bees or buy hives and frames. You got to learn how to make your own stuff. Like here's frames that I've made from these parts. Sometimes you can get cheap lumber or free lumber from job sites, scrap lumber that they're going to throw away or burn. And you can cut them on the table saw, make parts, and then build your own frames. And then I buy my foundation from beekeeping supply companies. Cali Beekeeping doesn't exist anymore. They bought out by Man Lake, and I see that Man Lake now has raised the price of foundation. So I'm going to start buying foundation from Dadant. It's a lot cheaper than Man Lake. That's the only thing I have to buy is the foundation. But everything wood I build. It makes it a whole lot cheaper. You know, like these deeps here. I built these. I cut down to 2x12, and lumber now is twice as much as what it was a year ago. So I may look for a sawmill to cut down 7/8. I like 7/8 versus 3/4. That's what I started with. So let me pause this. I don't believe in global warming. If it were warm all the time, I would believe it. But it's warm for a period and then it gets cold. Like right now it's in the 40s. It's April 22nd. So the bees, when it warms up, they do really well. And they want to supersede their old queens. And they don't realize if it's warm for a period, it's not going to stay warm. It gets cold. So I've had to bring some inside. And I suggest, I'm not doing this to try to get more views. I suggest you go back to my videos and look to see how I handle bees during the winter. I put them in windows, or I just bring them right inside when it's cold, because the cold will really kill your colonies. The toxic chemicals will make your bees sick and make your colonies shrink, and then the cold will be the final blow that actually kills your colonies. So during the winter, I keep an eye on my colonies, and if they get really small, that's why I don't wrap my hives. If they get really small, I bring them inside. You know, and I try to keep them going. Sometimes it's a waste of time, and other times it's not. Like this one right here, I'm not really sure if this one's ever going to be anything, but I try to keep it going until it warms up, and maybe it'll come back and maybe it won't. Like this one down here. And this one here seems like this one will be all right through the summer. So, watch my videos. That's all I can tell you. I'm not telling you that to try to get subscribers or views to make money. I'm just telling you that because my method of beekeeping is different from anybody else's in the United States. I had a 1% winter loss during the winter. Nobody else in North America, in Michigan, or up north, anywhere up north can say that. I don't take my bees down south. Anybody can take their bees down south and keep their bees alive if you keep the queen laying. But when your queen doesn't lay through winter, you really notice your bees are dying because of the toxic chemicals. During the winter, I give my bees cane sugar, and they seem to do all right eating cane sugar. But end of winter, early spring, when my queen starts laying and I remove that cane sugar, they start consuming the honey. And I know my honey is full of toxic chemicals from all the crop farmers in the area. And I noticed my bees start dying and my queens. I've lost several of queens in the last few weeks, but I've actually watched a couple of them die. And it has to be from the toxic chemicals. So if you can keep them alive, it's better than having all your bees die or having a large percentage of your bees die. You can keep some alive through winter and you can manage to get by. I triple every summer, but then I lose bees from old age and toxic chemicals. I end up having just double by the following spring. But it's still better than not doubling at all. Okay? Thank you.